Hello, everyone. I'm Sandy Adams, your guest host for the Community Spotlight series produced by the Mckenzian banner. Today's presenting sponsor is Tri-County Publishing, located in McKenzie. Tri-County Publishing is the place to get all of your customizable business products, and yes, even those for your personal use. Today, I am chatting with Joseph Butler, the current and youngest mayor of Carroll County, Tennessee. So please welcome to the show, Mayor Joseph Butler.
Thank you, Miss Sandy, so much. I appreciate you having me on today. I apologize for this glare.
That's okay. We can work around
my
that.
face here, but I'm so thankful. I'm always thankful for the opportunity to discuss the work we're doing, discuss our great county, especially with folks like you all. We're thankful for the banner and for Tri-County and what it means to our community and the platform you do give us. So
Yes.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for inviting me.
You're quite welcome. Let's just start off with your family has been in the county. It says you're 8 generations in Carroll County growing up. Is that correct?
So
yes,
that's correct. So the legislature created Carroll County on November 7th, 1821. So we'll soon celebrate a big 200-year anniversary. Lots of good plans for that we're working on. So the end of 1821, my family got here in 1822. So I tell a lot of people they hadn't been able to get rid of us yet, which, in all reality, it's an honor to be in the position that I'm in. But with that backdrop of my family being here, for really the entirety of Carroll County's history, it's also, to me, a great responsibility.
Sure.
I consider it a great responsibility because my family that stretched back 200 years plus many, many others have given us this wonderful community that we get to call home. So now it's our responsibility to take that and hopefully for God willing, build something that 200 years later folks can look back on and continue to, be proud of and give them an opportunity to prosper here. So
sure.
It's a blessing that we get to call it home, but I also consider it a great, it's a great responsibility looking forward.
It absolutely is. And my family's also been in the county for that long as well. So I'm sure they knew each other back in the day.
That's right. That's right.
Let's talk about, so growing up, did you have political aspirations when you were younger, or is that something that came on later in life?
Yeah, so the short answer first probably came on later in life. My father was Walter, who's now at Bethel.
Right.
He was in county government as trustee for a number of years, and then a short period as what was then the county executive, and then moved into state government. So we've always had this part of our family, had family that was a sheriff at one time here in the county. So we've always had family members that were involved in local government. And I always had this draw towards local government, and that, these are people that serve others. They help people. It gives them an opportunity, a platform to help people. So that part of it has always been enticing to me in that sense. I can't say that I went to school or 10, 15 years ago had this dream of becoming county mayor or involved in local government, but I have always, we've been involved in some way as a family.
Mm-hmm.
I always like to look at my dad and others as helpers, and that urge just sort of built in me over time.
Was there a catalyst? Was there like a moment or a catalyst that kind of propelled you into, I need to run for mayor because of this, or was it just something that came slowly?
I would say it more came on like a rush. The catalyst would be a group of friends and supporters a couple years ago. I was in a really good spot professionally.
Right.
Was working for a wonderful man in a great company that we had built up just down the road, really, in Weakley County. We were doing great work. I was very fulfilled in that work, but had this urge again to help others and to serve others. And really, I wanted to do that in the community that I called home. So a group of friends and supporters, I guess you'd say as a catalyst,
Yes.
came to me and approached me about this and, encouraged me to consider running for local office. So at first, of course, you take that maybe as a joke, maybe, but they just continued to encourage me and to build me up in that way, and I'm thankful for that. And then just the more I prayed about it and thought about it, and I just couldn't shake it. And I professionally, again, was in a good place, but
Right.
had this strong desire to do more, and maybe even more meaningful work in a sense. And as they continued to encourage me, as I continued to pray about it, and my wife and I talked about it a lot, and just the more that those things continue to roll, the more it felt like this was really the right path for me. Of course, you got to get elected, so that was one way to show if it was the right path or not. But I'm thankful that not just that group of friends that supported me, but a voting populace that showed a lot of faith in me as well.
So let me ask you this, because not everybody runs for public office, and it doesn't matter what level you're running at. What would you say was the hardest part of running for mayor? What was the hardest part that you found that maybe you were surprised at?
Yeah, I think a lot of people would probably say the busyness of it all. Campaign's really difficult. It's tenuous. It's
Right.
constant. We're busy anyway as a family, and me personally, and was professionally. So that wasn't too difficult. I think the hardest part, especially in a local race like we were
Right.
in, you knew who I guess you would consider your opponent.
Right.
The hardest part for me was this idea that you weren't necessarily running against someone, but running for something.
Okay.
I very much wanted to run for this office. I very much didn't want to run against the people that I was opposing in that
Right.
race. Thought the world of those people, still do. So I think in local races, that's the hard part. You're sort of selling yourself versus someone else. And I tried to separate that as I was running, but that's difficult. That was difficult for me, for someone that cares very deeply about other
Sure.
people.
Sure.
I would say that's the hardest part. I think a lot of people would probably say the busyness of it and door knocking and some of that things, but I really enjoyed that part of it. I enjoyed campaigning.
Well, now let's talk about the county. So for those that maybe are watching or watch later that are not familiar so much with Carroll County, what are the major cities or towns that are in the county?
Yeah, so we're a pretty unique place, even in the sense of Tennessee. We're right in the middle of the pack population wise, with the 95 other counties in the state. I think we rank around 50 or 60th. We're actually land wise a very big county. We're I think 13th in the state land wise. So it's a very large county in that sense. We have 8 municipalities.
Right.
The largest 2, Huntington's the county seat. Mckenzian's actually the largest municipality.
Right.
Then I'll try to run through the others: Bruce and Hollow Rock, Clarksburg, Tresvant, Atwood, Macklemooresville.
I feel like I'm giving you a
I
test.
think that's 8. That felt like a test. That felt like a test. But we've got 8 wonderful municipalities, all very unique. We've got like I said, a big county land-wise. We've got
Right.
We're very unique educationally. We have 5 special school districts in our county, all outside of county government. Inside county government, we have Carroll Academy, which is through the juvenile courts. It's an intensive day treatment educational program, sort of a standalone, unique program in this state. So we've got a county technical center. And then of course, education-wise, we've got Bethel University, which is a staple of our community, and also TCAT in McKenzie, the College of Applied Technology. So we've got our makeup is very unique, even as you look around in other counties around us in the state of Tennessee.
So while we're on the county, let's talk about the biggest subject for the past year and a half has been the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And as a mayor, what was the biggest impact that the county and you had to deal with, even this past year?
Yeah. So we knew it was coming, right? By the time it hit
Right.
rural West Tennessee, we knew it was coming. We were actually in a department head board meeting or department head meeting at the complex discussing contingency plans.
Sure.
This phase, what could happen if this happens? What happens when we get our first positive? So we were working within that department head meeting when I got a call from the health department confirming our first positive case.
Right.
So as we're contingency planning, I come back into the room, we take our first steps in that contingency plan. And it's been like that the whole way. And I think that was the hardest part through it all, was just constantly adapting to new information, increased sickness across the community. Obviously, the worst thing was people were getting very sick and dying.
Right.
And again, for those of us, you and I and many others that care deeply about other people, that's obviously the hardest part. But from a government perspective, the most difficult part was adapting to just constant new information, guidance, mandates, recommendations. And we were all thrown, not just county government, not just county mayor, we were all thrown into decisions that we never imagined we would have to make, whether that's mandates or closing county offices for sickness, adapting to state and federal guidance on a pandemic, a global pandemic. And the media was that way, and our schools were that way. We certainly weren't unique in that in county government, that we were having to make those decisions, but that was for me the most difficult part.
What governmental services were impacted the most by the pandemic?
A lot of ours, we shut down pretty quickly with that first positive case, not knowing that months later it would be much worse. Some days it would be better, but a lot of the next year would be much worse. We closed down very quickly to the public and offered, remote services, online services, Dropbox and things like that. But we were pretty quickly able to get most of our services back up and running with some preventative measures inside their offices and services. But I would say probably I want to give sort of a shout out to our sheriff here.
Sure.
To run law enforcement and public health and safety and a jail setting through this had to have been the most difficult part. Well, okay, that's one. That had to have been the most difficult part for our typical county services. He and his staff have done an incredible job. They had to lower the jail population. All of their responses publicly with their deputies looked much different than typical. They had to protect those jail environments. One sick person in that environment would spread just like wildfire.
Sure.
And he's been able to avoid that in the jail. So I certainly think that probably his office and all that he does between dispatch and jail and his deputy work, that had to have been the hardest. And then the health department was certainly something that we operate as a county. But what they've been asked to do through this past year and still has been unbelievable. And that the health department's with a certain range of expectations there, with limited resources, they've done such an incredible job. We led the state in testing at one time. We led the state in percentage vaccinated at one time, and that's just a small rural health department, but with incredible leadership. I would say you can't compliment them enough on the work they've done.
That's right.
They had so much going on that now the state's deployed the National Guard to support them in their efforts. But they were outside in the cold. Now they're outside in the heat. There were times we had to run their services through the Civic Center because of snow and ice and rain. So you can't compliment them enough on the job that they've done and continue to do, because it won't stop. Where a lot of us can go back to some sense of normalcy, they continue to have to test, vaccinate, and do the everyday services that they were doing before the pandemic.
So that brings up a good question. So as mayor, are there any changes that you've had to implement over the past year that will stay that way going into the future?
Yeah, I don't know so much from a service perspective. We would like to think we get back to normal. I think our courts are building back up. They're a little more open with still some precautions. The sheriff is seeing an increase in his population out there. The health department stands out in that, because we don't know how long regular testing and vaccinations will take place. So I think that'll be an extended period of time. We've put some precautions in place. We put up a lot of shields and barriers and tape across floors, and we're doing extra cleaning regularly and deep cleaning, and bought some equipment for that. Our goal is to get back to normal. Obviously, I think some of these barriers and shields and stuff help prevent future illnesses, even some of the more annual things we see.
Right.
But our goal is to get back to normal.
I don't think anybody can be too clean. I really do.
And I think it showed a lot of deficiencies in some of those places.
And I also think personally, I think it showed people personally that maybe they need to clean just a little bit better.
That's right. Maybe I wasn't washing my hands often enough.
Okay, we're going to pause here for a commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to talk to the mayor about the economic future of the county. So now a word from our sponsor. So welcome back, everyone. I'm here talking with Mayor Joseph Butler, the Carroll County mayor. And now we're going to get to the hardest part of the show, I think, for you. We're going to get into some specifics. And let's talk about the 1,000 Acres Lake. Now, initially, I believe that when it was proposed, it was 10 to 12 million. And 30% of that was going to be paid by an annual wheel tax. And as we've gone along, I believe there have been a lot of additions to that. So now, thinking out into the future, how long is this $10 a year wheel tax going to stay on to the citizens?
Yeah, there should be a great answer for this. And unfortunately, there's really not. I think, first, this is a wonderful asset for our community. It's doing virtually everything that we thought it would do down the road already,
right?
In recreation and tourism and economic development. But I think it's also initially and throughout and since then it has cost much more than we anticipated as a community. I've heard some numbers bounced around. And unfortunately, there's not a number out there that we can point to and say it's coming off at this period of time, because it's based on that 30% of retiring that debt, and our goal is to retire that debt. And the quicker we do it, the quicker we see sort of that windfall of local revenue.
Right.
We're already seeing so much benefit again. In homes being built out there, tourism dollars. I think a lot of these the businesses that we've seen moved into town, it's a big selling point for them.
Right.
So we're already seeing a lot of the benefit. Our goal is to retire that debt and to see the full benefit in the years to come.
Do you have any other improvements or additions planned to go out there?
I don't. I think what I would like to see personally is private development. I think that's not burdensome on the taxpayer, but again, it builds this asset.
Sure.
It provides increased benefit. A goal of mine is to see things out there that draw more people into it, to benefit from it and to enjoy it. So whether that's a restaurant or whatever, or kayaks or anything that could benefit someone new to that lake development, I think is wonderful. But I think most of that moving forward will be, in my eyes, private development rather than through the Watershed Authority or through county government.
So how do you inspire private individuals or private businesses to build out there? What would be the incentive to get them to want to do that?
Well, I think a lot of it's just natural. I think we're already seeing the homes go up out there. It's just incredible how many homes we're seeing built out there. So that's happening naturally. We're seeing more and more things like the Bassmaster tournaments, the Bass Nation tournaments, the triathlon that's happened annually. Those are attracting hundreds of people for weekend visits or for whatever reason. We've Mr. Paul Clift and his family they've got an Airbnb out there that just stays full. I think we'll see others do things like that draw in people from not just different areas of our state, but from out of the state. But I think as we see all of those things just build up naturally, I think some of those other things just, I think that's the incentive for private developers, just to see that activity out there, just to continue to see these beautiful homes built, more and more people on the water for either, recreation for their family or for fishing tournaments. I think a lot of that just happens naturally from an incentive perspective.
Right. So one of the things created because of the 1,000 acres lake was the Carroll County Watershed Authority. So what exactly is that and what does it do?
Yeah, so that's really, it's created by the state legislature to manage that project. Originally there were a lot of federal dollars, state dollars, and local money involved in that project. I think the state saw it best fit to have this state-run agency to manage all of that and to manage the construction and continued development of that project. So it's sort of outside county government, and it's within state government. It's a unique agency for sure, but it's in place to manage the project as a whole.
Okay. Carroll County is one of the few rural counties that actually has a 4-year university and a post-secondary trade school, which, as you mentioned earlier, was the Tennessee College of Applied Technology. But if you look at McKenzie specifically, and I didn't do my homework on Huntington, but if you look at McKenzie specifically, even though Bethel has grown and it's grown the businesses like restaurants in the McKenzie area, the population hasn't necessarily expanded. And from what I see and what I've read is that there's not jobs to keep those people here necessarily. So as the county mayor, what are your plans to bring more businesses that can provide those job opportunities to keep those students here after they graduate?
Perfect question. And honestly, you asked a little, in a sense earlier, why I got involved. And that was the big thing. I was fortunate to find a job that I was able to do outside of the county, but live in, my home county. But I've seen so many of my friends, people much more talented and smarter than I am, either go to school here locally or have to leave for college and aren't able. It's not that they don't want to come back; it's that they weren't able to come back and realize that career that
Right.
they had hoped for. So that was a big purpose of why I ran, to help create opportunities for people here, to live out their dreams, to live out the career that they want. So that's been a big part of ours. It's been a big focus. It will continue to be a big focus, is to create these opportunities. So we certainly don't take for granted that we have this wonderful institution in Bethel that offers 4 and 2-year degrees, offers opportunities for the traditional learner, the 18 to 22-year-old,
Right.
but has also been very successful in offering non-traditional degrees locally and in the Southeast, to folks of all ages, whether through the Success Program in person or through their virtual campus online. So we're reaching these people, we're educating these people, and now as we continue to add jobs, we realize the importance on career and technical education. And so we're very blessed in that we got TCAT, just down the road from Bethel, as you said, both in McKenzie. Over the years, as far as population, over the years, I would say the past couple of decades, we have seen a slight decline in population. I personally think that trajectory is changing. I think McKenzie will experience a lot of that, but I think countywide, will moving forward, we'll experience some growth, and I think we are. But it maybe hadn't hit the census yet. Again, back to helping people. We've got the pathways for people to be educated. We've got wonderful school systems. We've got this incredible university in TCAT. And again, we don't take that for granted in a county of 28,000, that we have a private Christian university and a college of applied technology. That's the envy of a lot of rural counties. So we're fortunate in that, but now we've got to, once those folks graduate, we've got to provide them great opportunities to stay here, to realize their careers, and to thrive in those careers. So we've, I hope I don't steal a question from later, but we've seen a lot of success over the past couple of years in new employers and employment opportunities. One of those is just down the road in McKenzie, by our airport, and that's Cushango. It's a startup, budding technology company. That's just something that we've never had here. For someone that graduates with a business or technology or marketing degree from, say, Bethel,
Right.
That's an opportunity that those folks have never had, to realize a career here in Carroll County. So we think we're on the right path. We've certainly taken some steps and have many more to go in that. But we're working really hard at sort of alleviating that problem, because it's very clear it's been a problem over the years.
What would be, is there a specific industry that maybe you have your eyes on as trying to find a business that can move into McKenzie or move into Huntington or move somewhere into the county? Is there a specific type of industry you would like to see more businesses come in that aspect?
Not necessarily. I mentioned Cushango. That's, for us, that's a home run. That's modern, high-tech technology jobs. If we had to write down on a piece of paper what we had hoped for, in say our airport industrial park, it would be a technology company.
Right.
So this is a startup. It's very new still. They've had challenges through COVID, but we think that business is just going to take off.
Sure.
But we've had other successes with some new companies over the past 3 years, and they'll provide unique jobs. Z-Line in Brewston, they've got a very unique business, and it's thriving there in Brewston. But they've got floor warehouse type jobs, but they've also got sales, marketing, customer service. lot of administrative and clerical positions. So those are the types of industries. Alongside, obviously, we're an agricultural and manufacturing community. We want to continue to build those opportunities as well, because TCAT's churning them out, and maybe again where they've had to leave our community for the career they've wanted in years past. We feel strongly now that they have opportunities to stay here, to realize that job, to grow a family here, and again to prosper here in Carroll County.
So now let's talk about broadband service. So that's still not available in some of the rural areas.
Right.
What is the plan for that?
So we're, I guess, alongside every county in the United States, this is a top priority. We've in the 3+ years now I've been in office, we have realized close to $15 million between grant funding and matching dollars from private companies in broadband. Charter was a big part of that, but the majority is with a company called TEC. They sort of targeted our community, and we quickly latched onto them with their model, which was, they didn't ask us for local dollars in the beginning. They just wanted to serve our community, which is, again,
right,
of course, our passion as well. So once we got to know them, they were quickly applied for some grants and were awarded a few, and those projects are already in place or in build out. So we'll see over the next year and a half, we'll see a lot of customers served by TEC that didn't have access to broadband as of this time last year. So that's a big component. Charter was awarded a big federal award that we believe over the next couple of years will build out a large part of our remaining unserved areas. And then I believe TEC will continue to work towards grant opportunities to they have a shared goal to reach that last mile, which is always the most difficult with broadband.
Sure.
And I think we as a county, we will look to expedite that by using some of our federal rescue plan funds for broadband development. I think that's our way of plugging into this process and pushing it along quickly. Again, with a goal to serve that last mile. Most of our municipalities are served well. TEC is stepping up to serve a lot of our more rural areas. We believe Charter will come on with that federal award and do the same. And then as a county, we're hoping to plug some federal dollars in to expedite that process.
Okay, well, thank you so much for taking time out today to have this little chat with me. I'm going to tell you goodbye and have a great rest of your day. So that's it for today's Community Spotlight. If you're interested in sponsoring one of these, you can contact Joel Washburn at the McKenzie Banner. It's a great way to showcase our community, the people in it, the services, the businesses, all of that involved. So I hope that all of you do. If you enjoyed this interview with the mayor, we thank Mayor Joseph Butler for joining us today. Please share this on your Facebook page. It's also on our Twitter account and our YouTube channel. And from all of us at the McKenzie Banner, have a safe and wonderful Memorial Day weekend. Stay safe, guys. Bye.